Hey, what's going on, Will? Hope you're feeling okay. Hope everything's going okay for you. Um, Gonna record a short video here. It's gonna be nice and brief, condensed. Um, the past couple videos, I just wanted to get some stuff down, thoughts together, things about the past, things about the future, current things we're working on. I wanted to get those things, together, and kind of just get it in the past. Get it down and move on. Um, we did a lot with. We did a lot on paper in the past, which I covered that in one of the videos. So it's been our ways of communicating and the workflow between you and I and the things that we juggle is continually evolving and advancing. So I wanted to get those things down. I wanted to bite off those chunks and pass them to kind of set some precedents on a couple things and communicate a couple different things, get a couple ideas down on paper, really just to get those ideas down about everything in a nice, condensed, stable, well communicated video, and then put those things in the past. So a lot of videos are going to be around that 15-minute mark. This one might just run a tad over just because there's going to be a little extra fat on this one. But will still be brief, and moving forward, videos will be brief, nice and condensed. Like I said, the way you and I communicate, getting in sync, the wavelength we're on, and considering all the things that we juggle and are starting to juggle, we're doing really well. We're always usually doing really well on all fronts. Still getting a little settled into the new apartment, but I tell you what, man, it's just been, so it's close to my son's school, very close, and so was the previous apartment, but the previous apartment was in that depressed area. The apartment where I'm at now is still kind of, it's roughly in a close area, but it's in Anderson, and Anderson is pretty depressed area as well, but it's actually more so out in the country. It's just outside Anderson. It's a few cornfields outside, so I'm really not a part of the depressed area of Alexandria nor the depressed area of Anderson. I'm actually more so in the country areas, and their country areas are nice. The houses out here are really nice. It's all the people who are moving away from the city. Whether it's a lot of people work in Indianapolis. For instance, both my parents have really good jobs. They've worked very, very hard to move up, and they have really good jobs. My father works in Indianapolis, and my mother works in Fort Wayne, and they're bigwigs for some big companies, Hoosier Lotto and General Motors. And they have a really nice house in Alexandria that's out in the country. So it's nice to kind of, I'm close to a lot of resources that I need, the grocery and everything like that, but I'm in a really good place. The place is nice here. I think basically what I'm getting at is it's done a lot for my productivity and ability to think clearly and everything. I honestly feel like I left a lot of things in the past. I'm able to count my calories like I've been trying to work on and watch my diet, and I've got all this plan to get a spin bike in here, and I can, that's been a big thing for me is this will be the third time I've gotten in shape, so I'm really tired. But I've got my professional audio equipment in here, and I have the room sound treated. My office here, I've got my whiteboard on the wall so I can do my planning, and I've got everything decked out on the walls, posters and different things like that, stuff that really keeps me focused and motivated. And I've got the kitchen around the corner and everything like that. I just feel really, really good. I feel really good about the things we're working on and the things we're getting ready to do. But just to give you an update, about how that's going. I feel great. I feel wonderful. I mean, it's amazing here. And I really feel good about the projects we're going to be taking on. My productivity is going to be through the roof. The last place I was in, not only was I a part of a depressed economy, right down the road from a liquor store, and not only was that the case, but I experienced a lot of trouble there in that place, a lot of hardships. And the apartment before that, a lot of hardships there. And the apartment before that, a lot of hardships there. I've been through a lot since about 2013. Been through a lot, and I mean, now I feel amazing. And the move, getting into the new office, getting the office set up with the soundproofing. If you've never walked into a soundproofed room, I would advise you do it for your office at home. I think Mel has one. I think she might have mentioned. I mean, it's when you walk in, there's a stillness to the air that is just, it's so peaceful to work in. Okay, so let's get into this stuff. I'll quit talking your ear off. I'm sort of stopping in the middle of my workflow, so I'm not going to be diving into a bunch of stuff and showing you a bunch of different stuff. I do have some notes here, as you can see from the icon, they're very short from the thumbnail. Wanted to show you here, I've made a few changes. Probably be better if I go to this guy. We'll get rid of him. I'm gonna go ahead and clear the caches and go in here. And I want to make sure I had something in the notes I wanted to talk about. Let me add a note here. We'll just put this. I love the way that we're able to communicate now. We don't have, I mean, remember when we started, we had a crazy amount of back and forth to be able to get anything done. But we were calibrating and integrating. Okay. So I want to show you, I made some of the changes. Hopefully that cache brought them up. Okay, so we've got this picture here, and I know you want to see, my problem was in the past I've just always been a super fan of like super bare bones, simple, a lot of white space, and that's honestly a problem of mine. It's something that once I get to this bullet point, I'll get into some more, but a lot of websites do this. They do where they have back-to-back pictures, and I think that's something that you wanted to see. And so we're working that in the mix, and I think it does look very good. Get into here. Making sure it fully updates the stuff I want to show you. First, I want to say that, and I'll get into this more when I get into this section here, especially that final bullet point. I want to say that just looking above the fold, which again, above the fold is, you see where my arrow is, everything, it's basically all the first things that someone sees when they come to your website. Everything above, where they would scroll down one iota. Everything above this little line is called above the fold. And above the fold is very important because it's the first thing that all the traffic sees. And it's the main factor when you start talking about bounce rate, which you and I have talked about. It's that thing that still seems to be broken for us in analytics, which I remember in one of the videos I had found a few things in the mix in the data that suggested that it might not be broken. We've just had such a bad time with it, with the website being down and it's sort of being out of date and different things like that. The booking widget not functioning, so people are probably going, they bounce, and they call us, and they might try and use the website a few more times and bounce and then call us. because the booking widget, it holds on to data even without cookies, which I don't understand how it does that. It's like it stores a cookie within the widget as opposed to your browser. So when you clear the cookie, which holds all your previous data from interacting with the website, when you clear the cookie from a browser, it's like the booking widget itself held an individual cookie. Because when you would, let's say you have 2 dogs you wanted to book with our current booking widget, and you accidentally select services for a cat, when you try to start back over from booking step 1, you cannot get rid of that cat. It's something to that degree. And then you just can never book without that cat. Even if you clear your cache and cookies in your browser, which typically fixes any browser-related issue. So basically what I wanted to say is that, I know I've mentioned I'm not the best web designer in the world. I wouldn't even say I'm a good one. I mean, okay, I focus on business needs and I do everything custom from scratch, when a lot of people these days who even went to school for web design, they just use templates. I had someone ask me that. They were like, why don't you just use a template and fill everything in? Well, I mean, you can't isolate specific business objectives then. You know what I mean? Like, I'll have everything done for me. I can't do it custom from scratch. I want to be in control of the flow of traffic, website traffic. I want to be in control of it. Not following some template that has, all the buttons already filled in. Everything is, the hero image is already there and it's a certain size and blah, blah, blah. You want to be able to create it from scratch. And I just want to say that where we're starting, as far as above the fold, there's still more stuff. Like I said, I'm stopping in the middle of my workflow. This is an improvement. You might not think so, Mel might not think so. And like I said, I wouldn't even say that I'm a quote unquote professional web designer, but just from my experience, as far as it serves me, we're getting off to a good start. And this is, this truly is just a start. And I'll cover that more in this first section when I get into it. But we're getting to a good start. Like this, the color schemes match. Everything looks good. We've got a good combination of, this is Allegra font and this is Cabin. There's no cursive or anything like that, and they don't clash, but they're still separate enough. And there's a lot more to come, which I'll get into that. But we're getting off to a good start. We've got a button right here that can, and an offer that's going to capitalize on traffic. Logo looks good over top of this area without making, if you take this logo and you put it inside of the nav bar, it makes the nav bar really large. I mean, as far as websites in the past go, it's not large per se, but this is a cutting edge website. This is where things are going. Simplicity and, it's all about user experience. Because if your user experience isn't something that's universally acceptable, you sacrifice conversion rate optimization, what I call CRO, conversion rates, or what is called CRO. You sacrifice conversion rates. So when people come to the website and it doesn't, let's say it's up to date, this hypothetical website, let's say it's up to date and it looks great and everything's good to go. If it doesn't appeal to a specific person, it could be 15% of people. It just doesn't necessarily appeal to them. That's customers lost. Customers lost. Honestly, I've reviewed like 30, 40 websites, nationwide and local competition for us. Like 30 to probably about 35 websites. And it's not it's not this isn't the most advanced website, but it's still in the end my favorite. And I'm just being honest. I know that they're our closest competitors. I don't know how I feel as far as should we kind of work with them to, like, because they have one location, we have one location. They're kind of a ranch style, we're kind of a ranch style. So should we try and pull as much business from central Indianapolis, like downtown? Say, why would you book with Barkafellers or Pet Palace or any of those guys? Don't have them in the city. Bring them out to the country. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's that, or, and then again, on the flip side, they are the closest competitors. But in all honesty, this is one of my favorite websites out of all of them. But when you come to it, this is good about having the nav bar up here, home, about, reviews, services, booking online, and the phone number there. I think everything's very well presented. I like it and everything. But I'm a person who interacts with websites all the time, all day long. I can go to any website and I can find all kinds of information, like who makes the website, and like the like the site index, and I can get into the different elements of the page. I can look at the page source, and I can manipulate different elements of the website. But let's say that somebody, like somebody who's, let's say a kid turning 34 who's married and has 2 pups, and they're starting to get enough money to do vacations and traveling, and they've got enough money to start, working with businesses like us, animal boarding businesses. Let's say that kid comes to this website. It looks cute and everything, but maybe they don't want to go through all of this stuff. Maybe the chances are the person's probably gonna, they might take one look at their booking app, which is should open in a new page. They might take a look at this and think that maybe it's kind of cheesy, or you never know. So what we're trying to do is, and this is a bad way to put it, but trying to take a generic approach that's universal. You see how pulled back this is? I'm not saying that Zionsville Kennel is not functional. I'm not saying that, and like I mentioned, this one's going to have a little extra fat on it, but we are transitioning down. We'll get down to 10 and 15-minute videos. But I don't know, there's just a lot going on here. It's not real well planned out. I mean, it is really nice. It's very professional, but you see, like, everything above the fold, like, you just have, like, kind of awkward stuff that sticks out above the fold, and there's a bunch of pages. Like, what am I supposed to do? Go to each one of these pages and just read everything? No, I just spent a few hours on, and this is all hypothetical, that 34-year-old. I just spent 3 to 4 hours sitting in front of the TV scrolling on Facebook. I don't want to interact with your website all day long, like I haven't been on the Wi-Fi for the last 5 hours. You know what I mean? So here we've got everything is pulled back. We got what you want right away there. We're telling you 21 years of excellent service. You don't have to go through, reviews, our feedback. You don't have to go through about and find out how you feel about our company. We've been doing it for 21 years. Excellent service, right away. And we've got an offer. We explain some stuff about ourselves or whatever, just a light introduction. We don't have the introduction and stuff down here, and it's not like, I'm not saying that their copywriting is bad, but I don't think that there's a lot of pizzazz in it, really. I think it's, it's Zionsville Country Kennel, located just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana, so like right there, your first few words, and I'm thinking in terms of CRO, and I'll get into that in a moment, but these are the first words that they're reading. I guess there's deluxe lodging and customized exercise programs, but what does that stuff mean to me? Located just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm 34 years old. This is the first, shoot, I might use one of those apps where I hire some babysitter. What is it, Rover? I'm 34. I'm plugged into that stuff. What makes me want to use you guys? But we get into, we appeal to your emotional triggers, and we appeal to multiple market segments on those emotional triggers, like depending on whether you're fun focused, you're focused on security, how many years of service, all kinds of different things. We appeal to those. Light, breezy, and easy. So this page is pulled back. It's got everything you need. It's one page that hits everything. And getting back into the copywriting, the Animal Den has served concerned pet owners like you for over 2 decades. Never have we failed to follow up on our promise of attentive care, joyous stays, and excellent service. And I'm not trying to brag and boast. That's not what I'm doing. You'll know for a fact I'm not trying to brag and boast when I get into some of this stuff. And I've already let you know I wouldn't even consider myself a quote-unquote professional web designer or a very good web designer. But I know a thing or two, you know what I mean? Like this button, just put the video there. I don't want to click on a button and go, to 3 different web pages to find your video. I don't have enough time. I have to get back onto Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm going to meet somebody for drinks or whatever. So, another thing I want to talk about is SSL. And I'm not trying to take up all your time. I feel bad, but we are transitioning. I just want to get this stuff down and get it in the past. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to say is we're setting a pretty solid, nice and simple, quite functional foundation. There's going to be more to come. Real quick, I wanted to show you some of these changes down in here. I mentioned why we shouldn't we're not going to roll out the $25 thing right away, because when you plug in your email, what the way it's supposed to work is what comes to your email is a sort of coupon code. And that coupon code, you're supposed to just be able to plug it in during the booking process. So we want to make sure that's all ironed out before you really put it out there and offer it. We're still working a lot on the booking. We're really working hard and practicing our due diligence to cross our T's and dot our I's, make sure we're protected from all angles, and we're capitalizing on every single website visitor. So that's what we're doing here. Change the picture here. I like this picture. We're going to be taking our time on some stuff, so we're going to be right in the summer. Some of the stuff was done for spring. We've been at it for about 2 months now. It's mostly because we're juggling a lot of things, and we really have to process a lot of things, you and I, upstairs, if you catch my drift. Strategies, R&D, research and development, different things like that. But these pictures will continually change, and I'll get back into that. Once we've got everything squared away, probably the very last thing that I will do is come back to these background pictures and update them to the highest quality, best looking images. For now, they just give us the space we need to work and eyeball things. But you can see I've changed that. I've made some of the changes that you had requested. Don't pay attention to anything below here. I actually just stopped in the middle of some things that I was working on to show you some different elements. So I put this guy up in here. I tried to put him at the top, and I just don't, I think it flows better here. There's some work that I want to do on this, but we have to have some white space. Just because you never know who's coming. You and I have been staring at this website for 2 months, and I know the digital side of the business. The business and day-to-day side of the business. So for us to just look at this, we can process this quite quickly. But for a brand new prospective customer, when they come here, that's why we want things peeled back. and white space does help with that. You know, they don't want to see. This is a great example as far as our competitors' websites go. Like, for instance, Pet Palace just bombards you with information above the fold. Again, the first area that prospective clientele sees. I would say that this is a perfect example of, you know, compared to our competitors, about the density of information above the fold. This is good, but frankly, it's not good enough. Not for a cutting edge website, not for where, you know, new customers, people who are turning 40, people who are turning 35, people who are turning 45, you know, over the next 2 years, new customers, aging clientele, aging prospective clientele. They're going to want websites to be, you know, everybody's getting more in tune with the internet. So they're going to want websites to be peeled back because they've probably already been to 10 websites today, plus Pinterest, plus Twitter, plus Facebook, Instagram, and they did a couple Snapchats at 35, 40 because they grew up with the technology. They don't want you to be bombarded by your website. That's why we've got the inline video. We use what's called an inline approach. We have the video embedded inline in the website. You don't have to click a button to go, you don't have to scroll all the way down here to find a video, which, you know, if a picture's worth 1,000 words and video moves at 60 frames per second, that's 1,000 times, that's like, that means a video is worth 60,000 words a second. So I don't want to have to scroll. Your video is imperative to me as prospective clientele. Looking to get into animal boarding for the first time in my life, becoming a lifelong customer probably because I've got a good job, I'm in a stable relationship, I live in a good area close to a few animal boarding businesses. I don't want to have to go down here and find your video, which is dire to me as prospective clientele. We've got the video embedded right underneath the fold. It's right there. You don't have to hunt for it. And you know what? Prospective clientele is not going to hunt for your video. I bet you anything. I would love to see their analytical data. I bet you anything that between 5 and 8 prospective visitors to the website don't even see this button. They don't see it. They don't see the video, they don't see the button, so they never see the video. And you also have to think of funnels. It's called a sales funnel. This is me having to click on this button is one extra step in that sales funnel. Because, you know, I watch the video and then I become a customer. Boom, there's the end of the sales funnel. And a website is like a switchboard to your sales funnel. You've got traffic coming in from Facebook, a new prospective clientele customer for Zionsville Kennel comes in. You know, where are they going to go from there, and how are they going to get to the end of the sales funnel, which is converting into a customer, hopefully lifelong. Excuse me. You know, so that is an extra step, and we're boiling it all down. When you come to the website, we want you to have everything that you need on one single page. So, and don't pay attention to the borders here. Things are going to change. I wanted to show you. So I've made some of those changes that you spoke about. I think it looks a lot better. You know, I was leery of having these back-to-back images, so I went and found an image that was very pulled back. You know, the dog is sort of edging towards the background in the photo, as opposed to being in the foreground of the photo. Is really pulled back. There was a lot of adjustments I had to make to get these guys the same color, to get these guys the same color and shape. I had to do some programming and some different stuff to get that silvery gray ivory color. This is transparent. I used a combination of white and transparency. So when you take something that has a combination of white and transparency and you put it over an image that has a background overlay of black with some transparency, these things, they look like glass, to put it in a picture. So this about section that's all white now, it was clear. So I had to get in there and I couldn't use the color code for this background because it involved transparency. We couldn't use transparency because this is over top of an image. So I had to do some investigative circumventing or what have you. I took a snapshot of the picture and then I uploaded the picture here, and then you can click on different elements and it will pull a certain, and then it will give you the, so I had clicked out here and I get this guy, and then it gives me the color code. So I had to do some investigative stuff. That's what you guys pay me for, is to be able to strategize and circumvent. So there's a lot of R&D, there's a lot of what's actually is hacking, procedural trial and error, being able to circumvent issues. That's what you guys pay me for. So here's what you have. This is typically what you have. You've got this new image here, and you've got this picture here with the dog and the cat, and you see they just, I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but it's strange to have these images back to back. You see this line here, this border, just strange to have them back to back. But there's going to be a lot more that comes to the website. It's little things at a time that we change while juggling all the other things that we juggle. So a lot of these elements and different pages and sections and stuff, they're going to get new small things that just change the entire thing. You see here I've added a border. You see this black border? It's razor thin. You can see it right here. My mouse is over here. Right over here, you can see a razor thin black border, and then it also has what's called a box shadow. The box shadow adds sort of a, you can see right in there at the tip of my mouse where it fades. It starts from black and then it fades out from black. So that's called a box shadow. And these elements, you can see how flat they look up against that. They're going to get a black border, and then I'm going to add a box shadow to them. So there's about 1,000 more tiny little micron changes that are coming to each individual element within each individual section. That's really going to change the entire thing and how it pops. You can see how this pops here. This new segment with this dog, this small dog in the background, like I mentioned, this section, we're going to make it pop. So I made the change here, and I purposely did not make the change here. And I didn't make the changes here to these elements because I wanted to explain and show. I wanted to illustrate how just this tiny razor thin borderline with the box shadow, it just changes the entire thing. It just works for it so much. So there's going to be a lot more elements. There might be outlining of like these titles. I might put a black outline there and then a box shadow. It's going to look really, really nice. And then even after that, I can add things like animations. So like when this page loads up, you might have everything load up nice. This is an animation. This is a hover animation. So when you hover over different things, that's a hover animation. All of that stuff is individually programmed by hand. Still need to get into that. The cat, you see those white pixels? Wonder if I can. I can't get to it. But there's white pixels around that cat's tail. I mean, we're doing everything to perfection. What was I getting ready to mention? And I know this is getting to be long. I do apologize. I just want to get some of this stuff down and then we'll get it in the past and we'll transition over to shorter videos. So I can add animations at the end. It'll be one of the very last things that I do before changing all the pictures. I probably will never change this top picture just because it flows with, it just flows with the color scheme that we have here. And I've already mentioned the above the fold section. I mean, we've already got the chat right there. Look how perfect it sits with this image. And actually, if you're a brand new visitor, I'll actually just show you. Hopefully you've got some time to set aside for this video. What I was going to mention though, while this is loading up, I can have this animation where everything loads up. And one of the things I'm going to focus on, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I'm going to focus on, like site speed. That is a big thing because that contributes to your bounce rate. If it takes, some people, they don't want to wait 7 seconds. They're willing to wait 4 seconds for your website to load, but they're not willing to wait 7 seconds. So you lose those people. But this logo, what I was mentioning is, after everything loads up and it loads up quickly, I can have an animation, which looks really nice, bring this logo in from the left. It'll like glide in nice and neat. It'll glide in from the left. So everything will load, and then it'll be like the animal den. It slides in nice and neat. So there's still a lot of stuff to come. The point is to establish a foundation that focuses on business objectives first, being able to capitalize on the traffic. Then it comes in phases. It comes in waves, which you already know. We've talked about it. I'm just I'm honing in on that concept. It comes in waves. So for a while, we'll focus on site speed. For a while, we'll focus on SEO, back-end stuff. And then we'll focus on graphic stuff. We'll make the graphics more complex. We'll make the color schemes more complex. We'll add animations. We'll add new features like one of the features that's hidden. You see it's hidden. It's hidden. I'm looking for it, but it's hidden. You see right here between these two images here under staff, just remember staff. If you go and you look here, this section with the flyers is hidden, right? So it comes in waves. The website's just going to get more and more advanced. And so with that, I'll go ahead and dive into the notes, which the notes, it's not going to be bad. And again, I do apologize. We're making the transition, I promise. So video presentation 14, ending quarter 2 here, topics. We're going to start, I'm going to introduce digital transition. So that's what we're going to call what we're doing right now. Before we get back into making Facebook more advanced, making AdWords more advanced, focusing on SEO, making sure that our site index and our sitemap, everything, Google has the best of everything. Excuse me. Before we do that, we're going to take some time out for a digital transition. So this is video 1 on that topic. Just going to introduce it here. So first, let's start with, I want to talk about the website first, and there's more to come. So I showed you borders. There's going to be parallax. There's a couple complicated things that I have to do for that, and I want to make sure that the other complicated things that rely on that first complicated thing I'm going to change, I want to make sure that they don't, get affected when I make those changes. So there's a lot of stuff I got to look into for that. But parallax is, you see how this image scrolls underneath. You see how it has sort of that scroll effect. That is called fixed. That's called a fixed scroll. And it looks really nice, but at the same time, there's a more advanced feature called parallax. And let me show you an example. The funny thing is that parallax, the code, the programming that's involved, the programming that's involved is interpreted differently by different browsers. So recently I switched back over to using Firefox. It's just much faster for my workflow than Google Chrome is, because Firefox got a few updates and Chrome's kind of been, I don't know, Google's been making so many different updates to like Gmail and all their different applications. I think they've kind of, left Chrome where it's at just because so many people innately use it. Android devices typically come with it now, but Firefox is wonderful. So kind of wanted to find one where the page made an individual example as opposed to, sort of this is what I was looking for. But this is way too advanced. We're not talking about this. I mean, that's just too much. That's your website hipsters, like Andy Warhol, just out there just doing weird stuff. Parallax. Scrolling example. Let's see, this is kind of something I wanted to find. So we could get like a simple example. I don't understand. See, I just don't understand other people's mentality. Like, why wouldn't you have an example? Like, right away. Or people who write, like, if you Google an answer to something, you need a simple answer to something. Yeah, okay, perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for. That is parallax. You see, it's not scrolling like fixed. This is called parallax. And what it does is it adds another layer. It adds an infinite layer of depth. It's vastly different. You can see how the space between the foreground, which this is the foreground, content, it's a content space. You think one of those white spaces. And then you've got content that hovers. It hovers, so like these elements here, they're hovering over top of that fixed image. But in this example, they will be hovering over a parallax, smooth scrolling background. And what that does is it just adds a massive layer of depth. And that's going to change, that's going to flip the entire website on its ear. It's going to add just this level of complexity that makes our website, I didn't see a single one out of those 35 websites that use parallax scrolling. So it's a major update. And this is all stuff that's coming. That's why this stuff takes so long, is because we're juggling so many different things. You think the website is all just one thing, but we have a backend. We have SEO, we have speed, we have plugins and making sure everything works, the email, chat. So I wanted to show you that real quick. Hopefully this pulls up nice and so site speed is something that we will focus on. Boom. You see it with the chat? Hi there. If you need any assistance, I'm always here. And in another video, I would show you now if I had it already plugged up. But there's a dashboard. So there's a really nice, and I'm pretty sure from TDO, I think everything is free. Like, there's premium stuff, but I don't think they promote it really, really hard. But this chat, and it's purposely this light techie blue because I want it to contrast the website in its entirety. We could use green, but then I feel like it would just be so much green. And like this is just an entirely different, you're plugging into the business at this point, the front desk. So I'd like to show you the TDO dashboard, but I have to go find that link and get it all set up to show you. But the front desk employees will have that pulled up at all times, probably on the right computer or something. And they'll be able to just walk over to the computer and the dashboard is right there. They're going to have so many chat related tools at their disposal. So, I mean, these are really advanced elements here. It's starting to get hungry. 6:24 and I haven't eaten yet. Let's see. I'm gonna pull this back. So parallax, it's something that's gonna borders and parallax are gonna change the website in its entirety. I mean, they're just gonna flip it on its ear 1,000 times over because there's gonna be borders and box shadows added to so many different elements, like this guy. You see how, like, because it's white over the image, and the image actually has an overlay over the image in the background. It's called a background overlay. It's a combination of black. You remember when you said the images look a little too dark? That's because the overlay was too dark. So we reduced the overlay so that the image is more involved. You can see the image more. And the reason you can see this text so well is because it's white over top of that black overlay, over top of an image, which is also not white, so you can see the white. But still, even still, it might look good to any person who sees it, but to me, as someone who's designing it, it needs some more stuff. So what it's going to get is one of those razor thin line borders and a box shadow, and then the text is just gonna pop, man, like you have no idea. It's gonna pop right off the page, and then the background will go from a fixed scroll to a parallax scroll, and so you will have just this one little area will pop forward, and then the parallax scroll will make the image just pop backwards. So it's gonna, like, if you could imagine it, the foreground of the website is gonna just come 100 feet forward, and the background of the website is gonna shoot 100 feet back, and it's just gonna give our website 1,000 more layers of depth. Just trying to give you an illustration here. I'm not being braggadocious. So my point is there's a lot more to come to the website. It's coming in phases. It's coming in waves. This is an important thing while we're moving forward. A lot of things work this way because there's a lot of juggling, strategy, and R&D, research and development, involved with the things that we juggle. So that's why things take time. They come in phases and waves. So borders, parallax, I mean, that is just going to add so much more depth to the website. It's insane. Last thing, so then there's also animations, which is going to add 1,000 new layers of complexity to the complexity of the website. Animations will come in. Image updates is going to be one of the last things that I do as far as cosmetic things go for the website. So all these background images I'll update to make sure that they're just the best money can buy. Meta tag and SEO, so like this is back end stuff to the website. Excuse me. Meta tag and SEO, that's back end stuff to the website. The blogs coming, you know, it's not imperative. There's a lot of things that aren't imperative that we're still juggling that get, you know, they're getting 30% of the attention and stuff, like Facebook. we're sending out posts, but if we miss a post or two, you know what I mean, we're doing a lot, and we're not that specific marketing channel. We're just building the foundation. We don't have it turned on yet. So SSL, that's something that's coming. So another thing in the wheelhouse is when we fixed our website, we lost our SSL. And this just came to me, but in retrospect, I bet the reason our website did not, it went down, you remember when it went down with all that white space? It was probably because our SSL, our security ticket, expired. So whoever set up the website in the first place, they got us a security ticket, which you need to have a security ticket, because a lot of web browsers and websites like Google Chrome or Google itself, the search engine, when you go and click on a website's link and they don't have an SSL, it's very likely that you can get one of those red pop-ups that says, visiting this site is dangerous. Somebody could be trying to acquire your information. Would you like to return back to safety? You've seen them. That's because people don't invest in a proper SSL, or they don't know how to install it correctly. So an SSL is what gives you a green padlock, which just goes the extra mile, man. These are all small factors that, it's just so well planned out. Matter of fact, let's just go to Comodo itself. This is the largest supplier of SSL security tickets, and they just changed their name to Sectigo. See, I'm up to date with all this stuff. See this green padlock, and it says HTTPS? That S is secured, and people can click here, and they can make sure that their connection is secure, and they can check out all kinds of cool stuff about the website. But as you can see here, that is not present. It's because we don't where we're building it is not set up on an SSL, because we're going to do the migration. We'll put the SSL. The SSL will be something we do right after the final migration. There's going to be the mock migration before. But you see here this link, HTTP, it doesn't have the S. So what will happen is we go and we get this. It involves a bunch of programming and stuff like that. A bunch of back-end stuff. And, we might even look at putting the website on our own server. Right now we work with GoDaddy, and GoDaddy, they do all kinds of stuff. It might not be necessary, but in the website there's a lot of cool stuff. If you have access to both the WHM and cPanel, I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but those things are important. It's just layers of software. So WHM is basically being in control of the server for the most part. There's more layers behind WHM. But WHM allows you to generate what's called a CSR, a certificate signing request. And then you take that CSR over to Comodo and you request an SSL. And they give you a CSR bundle, and in that bundle there is the certificate, and you take that certificate, which is it's like 7 paragraphs of code, and you take that code and you install it through WHM, and then it gives your website the SSL. But then there's underneath the WHM, within the WHM is called a cPanel. So I'll just go ahead and show you this stuff. Since I've already taken up a bunch of your time, let's just go ahead and look at it, because I know that you are interested in this stuff. So So we're going to take a look at my server. So here we're logged into my hosting. So I host with InMotion Hosting. They're pretty much the go-to guys as far as people like me are concerned. And I've used about 4 or 5 different web hosting companies. InMotion Hosting has been wonderful. I only pay $30 a month, and I have a massive amount of resources available to me. So one of those resources, one of the biggest ones, is called a WHM. So that's what allows me, I am actually the host. Like my company, Whitestone Executive, which is, it's just on pause. Everything I have that I've ever worked on is on pause, But Whitestone Executive is actually the host. So it comes in like levels. So, GoDaddy is a host. InMotion Hosting is a host. They offer individual packages, which is what we do. We at the Animal Den we have a small time package. We're one website and we come and we say, hey, we just want to host for $10 a month or whatever. I think we're actually at about $15 a month. GoDaddy and HostGator are like retail companies, so their prices are really jacked up and they try and screw you all the time. InMotion Hosting is like for the nerdy guys, so they give you all kinds of help. But I pay $30 and I have control over everything. So here I have, one level of InMotion Hosting is one level. Within that, I have my own hosting company, Whitestone Executive, which isn't a hosting company, but still, we offer the packages. Just to give you an illustration. So then there's WHM, which is sort of your control panel for doing all of that hosting work. So then within that, you have packages and accounts. So if I go to list accounts, you can see here, these are just old projects, old websites and stuff that I have, stuff to play around with. This is my hobby. This is everything I do. So in here you've got, within this so here I have control over how much of the server's resources this one thing has. So one aspect of site speed is how much of the resources do you have. Websites are run off of a computer. So when you go and you pull up a website, you're accessing a computer way over in like probably Texas. You're accessing a server. You're passing through your closest server node. You're getting shot through a couple other server nodes, and then you're getting spit out the closest server node to the server where your website files are actually stored. So I'm in the WHM, and I've got a package set up here that has so for this project I've got quota unlimited, which that's not good. I might not be able to show you everything I want to show you. Disk use 280 package default. See, I need to be on this package silver, but it doesn't really matter, but I wanted to show you within this so this package, disk used 280 megabytes. That's how much is used, how much our files of the new website, how much they weigh, technically speaking, you know what I mean? And the smaller that number is, the faster the website loads. So that's another reason to do everything on one page. And then how many elements you have on that page every element that has to be pulled when you load the page is called an HTML request. And so all of that stuff has to do with site speed. If you give the site more memory to access, and you keep the size of the files and the HTTP requests low, it will be faster. So that's why it would be beneficial for us to stop doing business with GoDaddy and do business with with InMotion. Do InMotion and get our own hosting we become a host and host ourselves. So you would get access to the WHM and the cPanel, and you would be able to give yourself a lot of resources to make your website blinding fast. That would be the purpose, and you could do it for like $30. You know what I mean? 30 to 50 bucks per month, depending on different things that you get. So within here you have cPanel. Cool, it pulled everything up. So I have unlimited access to disk usage. I've got unlimited bandwidth. I mean, I have everything I need to just send 50 billion visitors to my website per month and have the website just pop up in a blink of an eye. So we go into File Manager. So right now we're looking at, this is the WHM. So this is one thing I have to interact with. Here is the cPanel, which this is this is the dashboard for all of the resources, the SSL, bandwidth, and storage. And then the cPanel is the dashboard for the individual website and has access to all kinds of like File Manager. So this is all the files. This is all the files in the website. This is where like the images are stored, and all the files that you go to public HTML where everything is stored. See, this has got all the WordPress content, the WordPress, plugins, and how everything is configured. All of that is installed on the server through Control Panel, which is managed by WHM, which I purchased from InMotion. So you're starting to catch a glimpse of how many things I juggle. And this is just all on the back end. So we'll get out of the File Manager. And the reason I brought you this deep is I wanted to show you emails. With cPanel and WHM, cPanel, you have access to professional emails. And, we have professional emails. We have one or two that we use on a day-to-day basis, but we also have like 4 or 5 that are Gmail, and that is a no-no. When we reach out, when I shoot an email to a vet from a Gmail account, a vet especially, you know how stuck up they are. They're going to look at it and be like, well, why did they just send me a message from theanimalden@gmail.com? This is doesn't even look like a real business. Even I subscribe to that. I was looking at, I forget what I was looking at. Oh, I was looking at spin bikes on Amazon, and I was reading people's comments and questions and reviews, and I saw the actual company of, listen to me, it blew my mind. I listened to the company, replied and said, just shoot us an email at blah, blah, blah spin bike company at hotmail.com. Are you serious? Nobody has. That's like using an AOL email. It's ancient. I think Hotmail is offered by Microsoft. And so when prospective clientele or potential business relationships, when they see you're emailing from a Gmail or a Hotmail or an AOL, that looks very unprofessional. So what you want to use is called, I believe it's called a vanity email. A lot of universities call it a vanity email. So basically I can create and an unlimited number of, so you've got at url.com. This is just a mock URL. So I can put contact at theanimalden.com, and then I can put that somewhere on the website. So it says, like, you know, if you go down to you know, we'll eventually add an element right after blog that says contact, and it'll shoot all the way down here, and the contact area is where it will show the map, it will show the address. So let me pull up I just cleared my cache and cookies and history a little while back, so it didn't auto-populate, but we'll have this contact section just like this. And you see you've got this email, info@animaldenindie.com. We'll have one that says contact at animaldenindie.com, and the front desk will manage that. So if people, for some reason, didn't engage with chat on the website, they can engage with the email and ask us questions or whatever. And I can create these emails. So I can create an email for you. I can create an email for Mel. I can create an email for front desk. I can create an email for admin stuff or webmaster, that's what I actually am for the website, as a webmaster or administrator. There's different types of, like, for instance, when we get back to using companies like MailChimp and doing autoresponders and email swipes, which I've talked to you about that stuff before, about a year ago, you want to have an email that says, like, no reply. No reply. That's what professional companies do. No reply at theanimalden.com. That basically means that, like, this is bot related stuff, and if you reply to us, we will not get it. But really what you would do if you were smart is you would not do no reply. You would be something like, I wouldn't even say, you could say bot, but I wouldn't even say bot. I would say, like, if I was doing those email swipes, I would honestly just do contact. Because when those emails are sent out from MailChimp automatically, people who are getting the emails will see contact at theanimalden.com, and then when they go to you can set a rule when they go to reply, it'll automatically reply to, because the email is being sent from MailChimp's server. It's not being sent from contact at theanimalden.com. It just says that. So when you reply, you have to set a rule. If you want to capture prospective clientels or your current clientels, you want to capture their reply emails. So, like, a lot of businesses use this, no reply. And if I were to, if I was just your average everyday person customer, and you sent me a promotion for a special deal, let's say Mel comes up with one of her flash sales, and we send out an email to our email list, we're going to have people that just reply to that. And if we don't capture those replies, we'll lose out on potential sales for that flash sale. So that's why we want to be in control of our emails. We want to be in control of our autoresponders and everything like that. It's a lot. This is all part of the digital transition just under the website. And it's good that I've went this extra mile. I know it's really long. I promise you we're transitioning. It's good that I went into this very long, because when I get to shoulders, We're going to talk more about that. Juggling and how much it affects you and I. And people are going to have to understand that, because when we make a transition, we're going to get into pushback. And that's a lot of pressure on just you and I. I mean, you're going to be my blocking man on that. When we make the change to the website, people hate changes. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Last point I want to touch on here is courses and advancement. Gotta clean my glasses here. Courses and advancement. So the website is going to just get better and better and better and better and better with time, all the time. So once we do the mock migration and everything goes smoothly, we'll know that we're ready to do the real migration, and we'll migrate. Beforehand, we'll put a pop-up on the website that says, hey, we're going to be doing a migration soon. We're going through a lot of maintenance on our website. So expect that change. If you're a current lifelong customer, you keep coming back to us, expect that change. And then we'll make the change, and then after the change, meta tag, SEO, blog, new promotions, the SSL will be the first thing we do. There's going to be just a lot more elements and edits that come into play. And one of those things, potentially, maybe a year from now, down the road, could start in 6 months with courses, is, getting me some formal education on web design. So there are a lot of different types of courses. Some of them could maybe only take 3 weeks. Some of them could take 48 hours. Some of them could take 6 months, but I could go in, I could learn some more advanced methods so I can make our site better and better. So one site that's, there's probably 2 or 3 out of the 35 that I looked at, competitor websites. What was it? Bow Wow Camp. Everything's not auto-populating because I cleared my cache and cookies. But, a really advanced website. You see how this is really advanced. I mean, this is like a national size business. This is what a national size business website looks like. You see all the elements you see how everything's organized above the fold? Let's go ahead and compare this to our closest competitor, Zionsville Kennel. Excuse me. You see how everything is pulled back, simple, well presented, segmented. The video is way up here as opposed to wherever that takes me. I'm not even going to click on it. See how everything is light and stock imaged and everything is right? So this is a good website. Now, it's just an example. They're really not on the money, to be honest with you. It's not a la mode because they've got way too much space. Their copywriting it's better than these guys, but it's, they don't really know how to capitalize on all the market segments, their emotional triggers. So the copywriting is relatively, it's good. This, I don't know why you would do this. I mean, you're breaking up you see how much white space they have? White space is a good thing because it makes important elements easy to digest. You want those elements easy to digest because that's what works at converting prospective clientele into customers. But there's just, this is really good. This is an advanced website. But it's more so that the elements are advanced. The education with that webmaster is advanced. It doesn't mean that he necessarily knows how to capitalize on business objectives, and it doesn't mean that he's a stellar copywriter and all of these different elements that we juggle. It just means that he's got that extra education and he's probably learned a different type of software. I use a software that allows me to customize from scratch. He probably uses a software that's more advanced than the software that I use. So basically that's what the courses that I would take would teach me how to use a more advanced piece of software. Then I could bring my copywriting skills and business expertise. Business strategy is what it is. I'm actually a strategic consultant is what I'm called. That's what I actually do, is a strategic consultant. That's why my number one focus is business objectives. So if I can learn a more advanced piece of software, I can bring that back home, right? And I can make our website a couple levels even better after the migration. So moving on to digital transition. And I'll have this over in Slack. So I'm sorry to take for this digital transition, number one, I guess it's going to be a long one. We get that bitten off, we chew it, we pass it. And digital transition 2 and 3 will probably be shorter. It's not just that I'm long-winded, it's that I genuinely juggle a lot in the wheelhouse. And I know that it's part of my job is introducing you to these things. Okay, so digital transition. Here are the elements that are involved, and I actually forgot to add several. You can't say I'm not thorough. Back-end signage. Tablets. I'm actually going to say back-end tablets and call that guy or add in so back-end is basically like Troy and Abby. There are back-end administrators. When I use the term back-end, it can mean a lot of different things. Back-end for the website is, speed and different stuff behind the web page. But back-end, as far as the company, refers to the employees that work in the back-end. And when I say back-end tablets, therein lies the translation. Just one more. Customer rewards program, customer barcodes. Oh yeah. So when I say front end, that means for a customer. From a customer's perspective, front end mobile app. And I don't know yet for sure if Ginger does that yet. I'm getting to a stopping point on all the stuff that I'm working on and stuff. And I'll move on to taking on some more of that stuff. So I'll start looking into Ginger soon after this video. Okay, so let's get into digital transition. And this is just the points that we're aware of. We're going to develop more points over time. Especially as we start to consider, pulling the trigger on that next location, we'll start thinking about adding some more digital signage. You can actually develop that into a full campaign. You can have digital signage in the mall. Yeah. So like you think Zionsville and Whitestown, those are bustling places. So we can have our digital signage in lots of places. So it's a really cool idea. especially when you can. I mean, it's not that expensive when you think about it. $1,000 and $250 probably a year for the screen. For the software that it runs. Not that big of a deal if you're only doing 3 of them, but you have them like, for instance, like you develop a relationship with a veterinarian. I can't remember the name of them, but they've got like 3 or 4 locations. And let's say we get in with them and we say, hey, look, we'll pay you however much. Just let us get our foot in the door, and let us put some digital signage. It's going to look really great for your lobby, and we could put it in like 3-4 different lobbies of these really busy veterinarian clinics downtown Indianapolis, and think just about how much that would pay off. Okay, so getting into digital transition, number 1, digital signage. So digital signage, we've put in a lot of legwork there. Hopefully I can call him up and say, hey, look, I'm sorry for the delay and everything. We just got really busy and had to go through a lot of different things. I'm calling you back up. Can we pull the trigger on the deal that we outlined? And we'll get digital signage plugged up and looking pretty in the lobby. People will say, oh, wow, that's cool. And they get back into their work day, but it is cool. You and I know how cool it is. And Mel, I think that was her baby. I think that was something she wanted, right? So hardware. And before I get into shoulders and feedback and pushback, I just want to go ahead and say, let's do this stuff. You know what I mean? We've done all this work, and I know, I've thought about it over and over and over. I am fully aware how difficult biting this stuff off and chewing it up and passing it is going to be. I understand how difficult it's going to be to do this transition, but let's not get weak and back out, because the minute we do that, we start to roll backwards. And if we can just get this stuff in the works and make it work, it really is going to set a new precedent, and it's going to change our pace walking forward. Okay, so let's not back out on any of this stuff. Digital signage, hardware. So basically, I think we've got in the office area, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 computers. So it's not that expensive to get 6 new, and I can price those again with updated hardware. It's not going to be that expensive to update the hardware. Basically, everybody's, even the monitors that we use, the screens are, they're getting dirty and they're getting old. They're almost starting to look like screens that you would find in. When you think about old and new hardware, think about let's say like a private dentistry or a private doctor's office in a really nice area like Carmel, or maybe a really nice automobile store like retail. Compare those guys to like a mechanic's spot, like a mechanic out here near Alexandria, sort of in the boons. When you walk into a mechanic out here in Alexandria, over there in Alexandria, those mechanics by my house, when you walk in there, everything is dusty, dirty. The computers are 10 years old. The monitors are probably 15 years old. The cords themselves between the cords themselves are probably VGA. They're not HDMI. They're not fast. The USB cables and ports are probably original USBs. I think the ports on my laptop, and my laptop's like from 2015. Or like it's a $2,500 laptop though. But the ports are USB 3.0. It's so much faster. And the cords, the copper and stuff and everything, the wiring is not worn out. You're not going to have, if in a mechanic's office, their cords are going to give out, and then they're just going to go and they're just going to go to some dusty box and pull out another cord that's going to give out in the next 3 months, right? But you think about their computer itself, it's got dust on it. It's probably, ours are 10 years old. So the monitors and cords, the mice, the mouse that you use, the keyboards, everything's old. And think about sort of like a mechanic shop. When people walk in, think about perspective. The digital signage, that makes us look nice and advanced, makes us look upscale. But when they walk in and they see a computer monitor that is like curved and it's large, and they see that it's plugged up with HDMI, and they can see that, they can see how long it takes for the front desk person to do things on the computer. They can, subconsciously, they can see like whether front desk has sort of a scowl on their face because dealing with the computers are a pain in the butt. You know what I mean? So you can tell. I don't pay attention to that stuff when I go transact with a company, but now that I think about it in retrospect, I can tell that it does impact me emotionally and mentally. So hardware is important, and those are all just subpar reasons why it's important. The main reason why it's important is speeding up productivity and refreshing workflow. So it makes workflow better. It makes things less of a pain in the butt, and it speeds up productivity. You think about productivity now with a 10-year-old computer. If every single action, clicking and opening a folder, you see how long that took? On a brand new Macintosh, it would be like, meow, and pop right up. So what's this take? An extra 0.5 seconds for me? And this is an advanced computer I'm on, but it is from 2015. This is an advanced, expensive laptop I'm on. It's an Alienware from Dell. But you see how long that takes? And I have a lot of files on my thing. But for us, these type of actions that you never notice, and you might not be able to notice unless you're someone like me who's on the computer and on the phone all day long working on different projects, you notice how long it takes to do different things. And that's workflow. It frustrates me a lot. So that's why I update my hardware, because I can work faster. I can pull up websites faster. I can make different changes and do different things faster. So you think like, okay, well, opening a folder, who gives a crap about how fast you can do that? Every single action, if every single action that people do in the office takes an extra 2 seconds, how many hours per day are you losing just on waiting for that computer to load up stuff? See what I'm saying? It's every small action takes an extra 2 seconds out of 3,000 actions that, 3,000 is not very much for these micro actions. But think about everything Abby has to do. Let's call it 60,000 little actions. That's probably a decent estimate. Going here, scrolling here, opening a folder, opening a calculator, opening up an email, refreshing emails, doing something in the browser, setting up a printer, printing, opening up a file in Word so that you can print, all these different things. Let's just say that it takes, on average, an extra 2 seconds to do everything. 1001, 1002. And let's say that there's 60,000 of those little actions. Times 2 divided by 60 divided by 60 So okay, that's 60,000 is not. So that's an extra 33 hours. So if it takes an extra 2 seconds for an old computer to perform one of these micro actions compared to a new computer, then over the course of 60,000 actions, we're losing 33 hours of productivity. So there you go. So it's extremely important. Can you think of anything more important in your office than a computer? That's where you do your work. It's not like we're driving around fork trucks and people update their fork trucks. We're working on computers. We're doing brain work. So we need to update that hardware. It's not something that is okay to just let it run. It has an effect on productivity, has an effect on morale, has an effect on workflow. Website. So the major reason we're focusing on website is CRO, conversion rate optimization. Taking off my jacket here. So website, the reason we're doing the website is CRO. Conversion rate optimization. We want Facebook traffic to convert as highly as possible. We want AdWords traffic to convert as highly as possible. We want Google SEO, search traffic. We want that to come to the website, and we want the conversion rate of that traffic that comes to our website, we want it to be as high as possible. So that's why we're making all these changes to the website. We're not making the changes to the website because we want something prettier in place. That doesn't really do us much. We want it to be more functional on the business side of things. So we want it to be more aesthetically pleasing. We want it to be more functional. We want it to be reliable and be up, and we want it to, we want the booking section to be functional and up and reliable. But the major thing we want is we want it to be productive. We want the website to be productive. We want it to produce results. We want it to convert sales. So not only have we, what did I say? We've tripled the productivity of AdWords for half the cost. So we've basically, and I got a message from you. I see that so not only because of the changes we've made in AdWords, not only have we improved results by 600%, but we're actually about to change the website underneath, which is going to compound those results because of CRO. So if someone visits the old website and they were 1.5% likely to convert into a new customer, then after the AdWords changes, they're somewhere between 3 and 6% likely, because it's hard to explain. But that means when we change the website, they'll go from 3 to 6% likely to 6 to 10% likely to convert. So you see, it compounds. It works in multiples. We're not adding things together, we're multiplying them. We're changing them in hundreds of percents. In Facebook's case, building this new foundation I've showed you before, it's been thousands of percents. That's bugging me. I want to check it. I'm sorry. Okay. How meta is that? I'm recording a video for you and talking to you at the same time. Okay. Moving on. Booking platform. So the booking platform is going to change. We might use a form, probably not. I'm really glad that you are willing to take the time to consider software changes. It's really exciting because I want to take on this digital transition full force. I want to take the bull by the horns and bite all the bullets. And when I get down into shoulders, that's when I get down to shoulders point down here, you know, you'll start to understand. I'm gonna be confident. Okay, don't in the future on a couple of these digital transition projects, don't chalk me up as arrogant in any way. I've got to be like cold steel, because we'll get into feedback and pushback in the feedback and pushback section. We'll get into that in a bit. So the booking platform, Ginger has, and we're going to compare different software. We're going to really do our homework. That's the point. We're going to really do our homework and see, okay, who can we jump in bed with? Is there any options? Can we make any of the options work to our advantage? Can we do any circumventing? Can I manipulate any of the people into jumping on our side of the fence and saying, hey, let's see if we can get this fence to work for you. Change a little bit of the software code or something. Some of the sometimes you can go into settings of different pieces of software and you can change 2 or 3 things and then it'll work to your advantage. But even still, even if those settings don't exist in the settings page of the software, you can still get into the actual files of the software and make changes. You can open up DLL files and I juggle so much I can't even think of the other ones. But there's different files that you can open up, or .ini files is a big one. So you can open those up and you can make little changes to the ones and zeros and get it to bend to your will. So basically what we're going to be doing is, the software is it brings the most to the table as far as this digital transition goes. So we really want to do our homework and see if there's anything, even if it's getting into the files ourselves and changing some of the ones and zeros. You know what I mean? I would rather alter the programming myself than pay $50,000 to have someone program us a mobile app. You know what I mean? I'd rather go to one of those coding camps, which takes like 3 to 6 months, and learn how to program it ourselves. In any case, we're not going to be paying anybody to program anything. unless I can use Whitestone Executive to absorb them as an employee and get them to do it for half of wholesale. There just isn't a reason to put that much money on the table when there's already solutions like Ginger out there, and the potentiality of just having me go to some coding camp type of school for 3 months while we work on other stuff and code it myself or whatever. I know that would be an undertaking that would probably end up being like 2 years, but at least we wouldn't have to pay $50,000 for a mobile app, $100,000 for a line of business software, and another $50,000 for a back-end app for the employees. So, booking platform, Ginger has, I think they have 2 options. So they have one where it will send you to another page. I think I'm getting ready to get into Ginger. I'm coming to a stopping point on some stuff, and I'll get over into Ginger in a little bit. So they have, I think they have that option where it will send you to another, technically another website, but it's still got all your branding and logos and stuff on it and everything. And I'm sure that has pros and cons, but they also have an inline option where it's actually embedded in your website. So it's the same URL, same website, and you can still hit it with all the branding and everything. And it just has functionality that you're literally not going to get anywhere else. These guys, they use petbookings.com. And I went ahead and sent in some information to try and get some information back, but I never did follow up with that. I just think that what they have going on is kind of looks cheesy, and there are lots of there's alternatives to petbookings.com, but they essentially, it's a third-party booking plugin. Now, there's a couple WordPress plugins, but they're not going to do anything different than what we've got going on now. They're not reliable. I would not put money on those guys. So the booking platform, that inline Ginger application, it's literally going to be the best that money can buy. If we go out there and we pay someone $50,000, that would be an addition. That would be a third $50,000 just to have them program some booking platform. Programming, they really, really overcharge. I'm not a programmer, but it would be really expensive. And just basically what I'm saying is unnecessarily expensive. I know that we can get financing for it, but it's not worth it when we can strategize for an extra 2 to 3 months and decide on some options that don't cost us $300,000. It's important. Software, line of business, so that is the most important thing. So I was talking about how important the computers are, the hardware to productivity. Even still is the software. That's where we're actually doing the work. Those are our fork trucks. So if our software is junk, if our fork trucks are junk, then our warehouse is going to be junk. Moving on, back-end signage. So you would express interest, and I think it's a wonderful idea, to have some digital signage in the back that announces just different tasks you want people to take on. We basically just set them both up with the ability to cast a message. And you would then, from your computer or the front desk computer, you would say, Mr. Smith is here to pick up Bow Wow, whoever, whatever dog name. And people could see that as opposed to trying to hear it on those. I can't understand those walkie-talkies. I'm sure everybody else can. And everybody else has said that they can. I think that it's honestly just a problem with me. But the digital signage will do a lot in saying, hey, I can cast out any message I want. We can have our digital signage guy. We can say, hey, we just need an app. We don't need anything fancy. We just need an application where we can type in a message. I'm pretty sure I already checked that with him. We can do that. And even if not, I will personally find screens that we can put up back there, and I will find a way to cast a message. I've already found a couple when I was going through that digital signage period. So that's what we want to be able to do, is cast different messages. You know, so-and-so is here to pick up so-and-so. Somebody needs to attend to there's a mess in the deluxe suite. Somebody, you know, crapped all over whatever. You know what I mean? Accidents happen. The TV somehow became unhinged and fell to the ground, or there's a wet spot. We need somebody to come back and clean that up. You know, people are in and out of the back side all the time. And once it's been in there for 6 months and you tell them, hey, keep your eyes on the screen because we're going to cast out messages that we need you guys to pay attention to. So that would be something wonderful. Moving on to back-end tablets. Having those tablets is even better. Having those tablets, so I know that Ginger has back-end software for tablets. You can basically use the tablets to access the actual line of business software. So, you know, Troy's going to be able to run around and do what he needs to do on a tablet. Abby could have a tablet up at the front desk for whatever reason. And then there could be another tablet over in Salon. And potentially, you know, maybe a digital signage over in the bathing area, because a lot of people spend their time in and out of there, cleaning clothes, cleaning dishes, bathing, you know, and then drying's right around the corner, essentially part of the same section. So getting that stuff in the door is going to do a lot for, think about how much work we've done to how you and I communicate. And we're advancing it even still, because that's all we do is we communicate all the time. But imagine, you know, I'm communications, so updating this stuff is a no-brainer. Being able to, it's just like at McDonald's. When you look at McDonald's and they're basically moving their hands to the rhythm of whatever, you know, folding papers around burgers and flipping burgers and stuff, but they've constantly got their eyes on screens. They're looking at, you know, who's checking in, who's checking out, who needs their medication, who has made a mess in their kennel, what's going on in the deluxe kennels. Is training about to start? Is training about to finish? Does somebody need to run up to the front desk? Is somebody looking for Will? Or is something going on outside where, you know, I've seen a lot of people come up to, they run from wherever they're coming from outside, you know, something outside in the back, a water hose is broken or something. Or there's that broken umbrella. And someone comes from where they're at all the way up to where you're at and has to find you and track you down. You know, that's just an example. Not a great example, but they got to do, there's all this time spent. There's like a half hour spent on walking back and forth and trying to communicate. If we just have, you know, if we have an app that everybody can access from mobile, so basically on mobile, they go into their web browser, right? That's this guy. So I'm just going to go ahead and, so they basically pull up, and this is, I imagine it's very likely that this is how Ginger could work. This is probably how the tablets will be able to pull stuff up. So let's picture this as a mobile, right? We could say this is mobile, so that means either tablet or a phone. And they go to animaldenindie.com/Ginger backend dashboard. And they come to that URL. And then it gives them a login page, which they're logged into it all the time already. right? So and so is logged in. Let's say back-end employee number 2. Back-end employee number 2 logs into the application from their phone. Matter of fact, anytime they're in the building, they're pretty much logged in. And then they can send you a message within that app to you, or they can look at updates or whatever. You know what I mean? We don't know exactly what's available to us. But I'm sure that there's always ways. There's lots of circumventing and strategizing. We can find these different things. But wouldn't it be great if, whoever's out there sitting on watch and DTR, if they could get a buzz on their phone that says, hey, there's an emergency. We need to get the dogs inside. There's a tornado coming. I know you can't see it, but it is coming. Whatever. Or someone here is someone came in randomly to pick up their pet in the middle of DTR. Moving on. Back-end tablets. I'm sure you get it there. Back-end tablets is going to allow Troy to do all kinds of different stuff. Check-ins, checkouts, medication updates, ticking off whether they've given someone medication already or not. Whatever Ginger is going to be able to allow us to do, and we'll find that out in the coming months. Customer rewards program, I'm pretty sure Ginger has that ability natively. So we're going to be able to set up an official, highly professional, high grade rewards program for our customers. I mean, that is upscale. And I know that's what you're wanting. Customer barcodes. So people can, I know that Ginger has this. This is Ginger stuff. Customers can just come in and they scan some kind of barcode. I don't know what it is. Either a barcode on your phone. I'm sure you can then take the barcodes and put them on a card and laminate it. And they can put it on their keychain. I'm sure that there's a label company out there that will make those for you. I can't even think of the guys that we use online. We just ordered new stuff from them. That's how much stuff I juggle upstairs. Not trying to. Okay, moving on. Those barcodes will be nice because it'll track the rewards program. It'll allow for easy check-ins and check-outs. We're not going to have to sit there on the computer for 8 minutes in worst case scenarios and try and get a checkout processed or a check. I mean, think about it. I've seen front desk, how long it takes to check in a customer. All of that comes down to, you think over the course of a year, how much money has that cost us in payroll? So, once we make all these changes, we might not need 2 people at the front desk. When everybody's using the booking widget on the website, when everybody's able to just come in and scan their barcode, and rewards program stuff is automatically applied. Basically, front desk is just juggling email and chat, and creating accounts for brand new walk-ins. So, you know what I mean? Could save us a lot of dough. Feedback and pushback. Okay, we're coming to a close. Feedback and pushback. So we've got this digital transition. It has like a big negative sword in it, right? And that sword is double-edged. The first edge is that it's scary to change your website. It's scary to change your line of business software. It's scary to update your hardware. I mean, what if something goes wrong? Which will happen, probably. Maybe not. But it's on one edge of this double-edged thing is that it's scary. It's scary for us as executive employees, principal employees. I'm a principal employee. You guys are acting executives and you're also owners. So it's scary for us because all of this comes back on us. And, we want the business to function properly. I want all of the digital stuff, online stuff, and the communication stuff. I want all of that to work perfectly, and I want us to be able to open up another location. So I want this stuff to go smoothly. So that's one edge. The other edge is that after the changes are made, let's just say everything goes flawlessly, everything goes great. We are gonna get feedback and pushback. Abby doesn't want a single thing about the front desk to change. She's already told me that. But it's going to. Because we know at the same time, all I heard from you and Mel was front end, front end, front end. We can't find employees that'll stay. We can't find, it's just a headache, and we don't really know how to describe it. It's just a pain. And sometimes sometimes Mel would be like, it is a pain. Sometimes she would say, nope, everything's good. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of signals that I see. Front desk does need to change, and that's because the software needs to change, and the communications and everything needs to change. So we're going to get pushback. We're going to get feedback. People don't want things to change. Once they get into a groove, and I'm on introduction now. Once people get into a groove, they don't want to change. It was just like one of the very first things that I did was I introduced you to Thunderbird. See Thunderbird down here? I introduced you to Thunderbird so that you didn't have to have Chrome open with 15 tabs, because I know see how slow Chrome has been? There's got to be something wrong with my Chrome. I know that when you have especially depending on how complicated the application is, which email is constantly Gmail constantly automatically refreshes. So when you're in, just pretend this is Gmail, where all your email is. Gmail continually automatically refreshes. So when you have see how slow everything's moving? This is typically a few more. So this is about how many browser tabs you typically have. You see how long it took for me to click over here? Not bad. Remember, my computer's really fast, so this is not a 10-year-old, run-of-the-mill Dell computer. This is the highest brand that they make. But when you have a bunch of tabs open like this, it sucks up a lot of resources on your computer. It might not show very well on mine because, again, I said my computer is really fast. When you open up all these tabs, the thing that takes up a lot of energy is it takes up your RAM. So look, Firefox, 11 instances, 1,764 megabytes. It's taken up 0.5% of my CPU at some points. But the major impact that browser tabs take in is on memory. So it doesn't show me the percentage of memory, but so 46% of my RAM, my memory, which is like your working memory. CPU is like your hard processing. CPU processes like one thing at a time. Your memory is so that you can like juggle multiple things. So you think of it, CPU is like long-term memory and RAM is like short-term memory. That's kind of how it works. And then disk is like your hard disk space. That's like your knowledge database as a brain. So you can see Firefox right now is, we're in Chrome 17. Well, Firefox I have 11, and the applications I have open in Firefox are complex. So you should not be like this. I should be the only one that has both Firefox and Chrome open, plus Slack and 10 tabs in each browser. I should be the one doing that. You shouldn't be doing that, especially on that computer. And not only is it resource intensive and slows down your computer, and you might not notice just because that's what you do every day. I'd imagine that it's hard on the hardware as well. When you do that for 10 years and you've got 10 tabs pulling on that RAM every day, it's not good. But it doesn't matter. Do your thing. I'm talking about feedback and pushback. That is a very small thing that we're not here to talk about this. But I'm just trying to illustrate a point. For you, it was difficult. And there could have been some kind of technical error or something. But I imagine that it was, you were using the Thunderbird and then you weren't used to it. You didn't know where everything was. So you went back to using the 10 to 15 browser tabs. We are going to have feedback and pushback like that, like you would not believe. And all of that is going to fall back on you and I. So when we change stuff to the front desk, Troy is going to be able to roll with the punches. Troy is the man. I love Troy. But you know how Abby can be sometimes. And that's not to say, I'll go ahead and let you know to watch this video in private, but I'm illustrating a point here. Abby was calling you up over and over because she had run out of gas and something we had to, whatever, you remember the time. She doesn't want those changes. And when we make those changes to the front desk, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and we're going to get feedback and pushback. She's integral to what we're doing, but we're going to get feedback and pushback on that. And when we do, we're going to have to ride it out. I love working for the Animal Den, man. You've been so appreciative of my work, and you've given me so much room to spread my wings, and you just keep giving me more and more. It's truly fulfilling for me. And the Animal Den, so what I actually am is a business strategist who specializes in web consulting and digital marketing. So I'm a business strategist. I'm a strategic consultant. That's what I actually am. I'm the communications director. That's my employment. But what I actually am by trade is a strategic consultant who with a background in web consulting and digital marketing. So I love business. I'm actually writing a paper about business. I just love it. My favorite game is Monopoly. I love Monopoly. I have posters and stuff of Monopoly in the office that just keeps me motivated. I actually hung my game boards. Not my game boards, but the actual boxes. So I love the Animal Den because it is such a beautiful specimen of a business. I know that sounds like probably the most nerdy thing you have ever heard. But the profit margins, just like little factors like a lot of the employees that we have, they love animals, and so they're just good people in general. Like Troy and a bunch of other employees I've asked about backgrounds actually come from the health services sector. So it's like not only is it highly profitable, but it's also like the people that are involved with the business are really good. The services that we're providing are so. I love the Animal Den. This is wildly fulfilling for me. Moving on. So shoulders, this is the big one. So we're gonna get feedback and pushback. We're gonna hear stuff from Mel. We're gonna hear stuff from, because she juggles a lot as far as operations go and the business side of things. Troy probably isn't gonna give us as much feedback as maybe front desk will. I know it's hard for front desk. I know that Troy, I think he just stays really upbeat and kind of rolls with the punches. So we're gonna So we are going to get, that is a major thing. That's a major thing about this digital transition. It's something we need to be aware of right now. And that's why we're having this meeting about it. We're having this presentation about it. One of the major things is feedback and pushback. We're going to get that from everybody except for you and I. We're going to get it from every angle. Because everybody is a pillar in the business and they're responsible for so many different things. They run the business, right? And so when we change the environment in which they work and the tools with which they work, we're going to get feedback. And a lot of times that feedback is going to be pushback. People don't like change. And the stuff that we're changing is all technical. So, there's going to be, IT problems. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. And all of that is going to fall back on to you and I. And to be honest with you, all of it's going to fall back on me. All of it's going to be falling back on me. So we have to stay the course. We got to stay the course when we do this. And so I really need you to be my blocking man on that. When you start to hear pushback and feedback about the website, about chat and the TDO dashboard, the new emails, when you start to hear stuff on digital signage, when you start to hear stuff on the new business line of business software, when you start to hear stuff on the tablets, all kinds of stuff. People hate change. People hate technology in general, especially when you change it. So I really need you to be my blocking man on that. I really need you to say, try and figure it out yourself. Everybody and their mother is going to want to call me up and ask questions. I cannot possibly, as soon as this digital transition is over, I'm getting right back to the website and marketing. Plus, I got to get back to the grassroots stuff, and there's a lot more things that we want to add to grassroots stuff. So people are going to have, you know what I mean? Where I'm not, just because I know how to do my own IT does not mean I'm the IT guy. You know what I mean? People are going to have to, and everybody in that front office and around the office is young. So they know computers, they can figure it out. We're going to be having so many different things happen. Now, that's not to say when something happens with the software that, you and I don't come together and try and figure out what's going on. I'm just saying that you're going to get all kinds of stuff. People are going to say like, well, I can't figure out how to get back over to this screen. Doesn't mean that I know exactly where that screen is. I'm not front desk operations. Just because I know that the software does what we need it to do doesn't mean that I know how to use it to do what we need to do. That's not my job. And I don't like saying that. That's not my job, but you catch my drift. We're going to get a lot of feedback just because people are emotionally tied to the way things used to be. And when we change the way things are because we're preparing for the future, we're going to get feedback and pushback. Nobody wants to change it. I understand it myself. So we're going to have to stay the course. I'm going to have you as, it comes down on your shoulders and it comes down on my shoulders. And I'm going to have you as my blocking man. People are going to want to call me up about all kinds of stuff that they can figure out themselves. I got stuff to do. You know what I mean? I just want us to prepare for the worst. I want us to prepare for the worst type of feedback and pushback. People are really emotionally charged and they hate the new software. They hate it. Even though it looks new and it adds all these features and stuff, they hate it. you're going to have to tell them, deal with it. Get used to it. Figure it out. Relax. So, I want to prepare for the worst. We're going to have to, I want us to make sure that we have a plan A, plan B, and a plan C. For instance, plan A on the website, we're going to do a mock migration before we do an actual migration. Also part of plan A is we're going to notify people of upcoming maintenance. So we're going to put a pop-up on the current website saying, hey, we're about to update the new website. Sorry if you see some changes, some things going on, blah, blah, blah. There could be changes in SEO. It takes a long time for Google to update their rankings and stuff, but we could see some negative stuff. But it's what we got to do. You know what I mean? It's what we got to do. If we have to, in an emergency situation, for some reason we all of a sudden lose all of our Google SEO traffic, we might have to fly in an expert on SEO and say, hey, look, we need you to hop on this now. We already don't overprice us, please, because we just can't deal with all that right now. I need you to come in and I need you to work your voodoo on this and get us ranking back to where we were. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that that's going to happen or that's going to be something that happens. I'm just saying when we do these digital transitions, when we do this digital transition, there's going to be all kinds of stuff popping up. So we need to have a plan A, we need to have a plan B, we need to have a plan C for everything. And if all of those plans don't work, we need to have an exit strategy to get back to the way things were. You know what I mean? It's just something that I really have to put into this meeting here. Something that needs to be in this presentation. We have to prepare for the feedback and the pushback. And part of that preparation, our part of that preparation is, of course, we have to tell people that, hey, you try and learn it yourself, relax, stay calm. But we also have to have plans, plan A, plan B, plan C, and an exit strategy for different things. So the final thing is evolution and rotation. So this is all under feedback and pushback. People will start to evolve and get to understanding everything, and they really start to, now that I'm used to everything, I kind of like it. That's what you're going to hear. I kind of like it. 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 You know how it goes. And then finally, for people who just never like it, what's going to happen is, people, over the course of 10 years, we're going to have new employees, and when they come on board, they're just going to see the digital transition as the way we've always operated. So, they're not even going to question it. So that's pretty much how everything's going to work. All right. That's it for this video presentation, and thank you for attending this meeting. It's an important one, and I promise that moving forward, things are, we're going to get down to 10 to 15 minute videos. This is important. All right. I'll talk to you. Bye.